If you are listening or watching this, you are part of the Resistance, and that means you are in the Resistance base because the base is open. Welcome back, everybody. This is Star Wars News Net's The Resistance broadcast. I'm John Hoey. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you are new to the podcast, welcome to the Resistance broadcast. We love to have you. The base is always open, so tell your friends, bring them along, because we've been noticing a lot of new people popping in these days, and we're really psyched about it. We have a great show today. This is our news-based show where we run through a lot of the latest, official news or rumors or stuff going on with upcoming Star Wars projects, from the movies to the live-action shows to the books and all that stuff down the pipeline. So let me bring him in right now. James Bainey, Lacey Gillerin. Guys, how are you? Are you happy that the base is open?
I am happy that the base is open, actually. Normally I'm not, right? I always have some sort of weird complaint about the base being open.
The base being open, yeah.
But it is good because, like John said before, I think for whatever reason, like in the past week or two, we've had an influx of new listeners, and that is great. So I want to give a shout out to all the people at Google and YouTube. Thank you. For whatever reason, showing people our stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Lacey, are you having a good week?
I am. I'm officially the weirdest on the podcast. I thought everyone should know. I want to thank my parents for bringing me into this world, and for you guys for voting for me. It means so much. I worked so hard for this.
I've never known someone who would want to win that poll harder than Lacey, but she was campaigning to be the weirdest. And she
it's because last week something happened to her and she's like, I'm really weird. And she went with it.
Oh, man.
I don't even know how weird I am.
It's like my brand.
Well, let me tell you guys something right now. What? All right. Okay. I did, as James said, we have had a lot of new people joining us on all different platforms. So whether you're listening to us now on Apple Podcasts, and we've seen a lot of people giving a review. If you're interested, right now we are running a little bit of a t-shirt campaign. If you want to drop us a review on Apple Podcasts and screenshot your review and tweet it to us at RBATSWNN with hashtag #RateTheResistance, we're going to enter you in to win one of our t-shirts from TeePublic. It could be a Make Solo 2 Happen shirt like I'm wearing right now. If you're watching on YouTube, we have our Supreme Leader shirt, Gary the Porg, a bunch of designs, most of them designed by Mr. Bainey over here. Do it. Yeah, leave us a review. It helps us out, and it enters you in to win a free t-shirt. So win. This
is a good contest to enter, too, if you're kicking around. You're like, oh, contests, nobody ever wins those things, really. Yeah. Somebody does, but it's never me. We've done this before.
Yeah.
So people have left their reviews and they're kind of omitted now from this version. So there's, in a good way, there's not that many people entering.
Right.
So do it. You actually have a pretty decent shot, more than most contests.
Right. Exactly. And I looked back on our last one, and our favorite artist, I think, Jordan Delgadillo, one of our listeners and patrons, won last time. So he can prove to you that you can win a shirt by reviewing the Resistance broadcast. But anyway, guys, here we go. It's time to get into our poll results, and not the weirdest on the podcast, the real poll results. And we'll do that right now. We asked you guys, do you think we'll learn more about live-action Star Wars Disney Plus projects besides The Mandalorian and Cassian Andor at D23 later this month? Two answers, real simple, yes or no. And this might be the most shocking result to me, but 37% of you said no, we will not learn anything else about other projects besides those two, and 63% of people are expecting news on other projects for Disney Plus live action Star Wars besides The Mandalorian and Cassian Andor. As I just said, guys, I was pretty floored by this. I think it's a staunch no, just by how they run their operations, and there's a lot that they need to market in the next few months. So Lacey, James, how do you guys feel about the results? What'd you vote for, and were you shocked by how the people voted?
I said yes.
Oh,
and the reason
okay.
because when I went to D23 in 2017, they announced a ton of stuff that wasn't officially announced yet. And they showed a ton of footage and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that nobody ever saw. Like even now, some of the stuff that still didn't come out yet. But then, yeah, like they just had so much stuff to announce. They're stealing phones again, which they did when I was there. They gave you this like weird bag that you put it in and then you like glue it shut and they double check that you did it. So I could definitely see them saying something. I think we might get Kenobi or Solo announced. They're trying to push Disney Plus. They're trying to get people to sign up.
Wow. All right. So you're with about 2/3 of the folks. James, where are you at?
I'm with the hard no.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
But and for all the same reasons that you were saying, you know, I think they're really putting the focus on Mandalorian and Cassian Andor, and Cassian Andor basically is like the place where they can show you. I mean, Mandalorian too. It's like practically we know nothing about it. They could show all this stuff way in advance, you know, for Cassian Andor specifically, and everybody be like, "Oh, dude, it was great," and still walk away from that without needing to show anything else. The only thing that makes me think Lacey might be right on this one is that I think Disney is really trying to ramp up D23, and in a couple years, it might be like, they didn't really show us a whole lot or anything like that. But while they're doing it and really trying to make it a big thing, now would be the best time to be like, we're going to start giving them stuff that, you know, we wouldn't ordinarily like to give, but we want people to be like, oh, I wish I would have gone. Okay. You know?
So it could be a
I think she does have a good point. They do show a lot of stuff there, you know.
Okay, I mean I hope you're right, Lacey. Honestly, you know that. I mean,
they showed the whole first scene of The Lion King.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, without a doubt. But you know, and it makes me wonder if they're using Star Wars Celebration as we're not announcing stuff, but we're showing stuff you know about. Maybe D23 is the one where we're like, we're gonna announce this stuff here. I don't know, but like I said, Lacey, I voted no. Just because I feel like, you know how I feel about how they kind of are with things. But I hope you're right. That'd be awesome. That'd be great to hear about it. A Kenobi series finally, or a Solo thing. I'll do backflips. But anyway.
I think I might seriously cry if they announce Solo.
Oh, I think I will too. Yeah.
Patreon exclusive.
Yeah. I think Alden Ehrenreich would cry a little bit too. He'd be like, I'm going to get more money. The best comment went to a new podcast out there. So good luck to these guys. Black Series Rebels at BLK Series Rebels. Sounds interesting.
I caught their first episode. It was pretty good.
Indie project, right? Passion project.
They so I want to give a shout out to Alex Beckett and Rex Ellis. Good luck to you fellas. In your pod. No, I'm just kidding. Alex and Steve, obviously OG friends of TRB. Love you guys. And honestly, Alex got the most likes. So he beat out Evan Harris this week for the best comment.
Evan.
So BSR is represented here. And they said only Mando, nothing else. They might mention Andor. That's it. So they're going hard no. Not even, maybe only a mention of Andor. So there you go. But, thank you, fellas. Love you guys. And we'll see you around. But now it's time to get into the Resistance Report. And James Bainey's going to take us through all the stories going on in Star Wars. James, what is up?
It's the Resistance.
Oh, what's up this week? Lots of news. Actually, kind of some interesting stuff to talk about.
Okay.
This week, Slash Film was talking to the cast member of The Mandalorian, Giancarlo Esposito, famously, obviously, from Breaking Bad. I think most people know him from that. And he just had a couple thoughts about, his character and what he's kind of going to be portraying here come the fall. And I'll read the quote really quick. He says, in a way, you might call him an underworld character. You may also look at him as a savior, as someone who might bring back some order to the world after it's all collapsed. As we were kind of discussing this in like our article write-up, is that it seems like Star Wars is really trying to push there's no good or bad characters, and this falls perfectly like right in, good from a certain point of view, bad from a certain point of view. Lacey, I'm starting off with you on this particular thing. Anything stick out to you about this article? Or does it get you even more excited for The Mandalorian, or just whatever?
I'm already pretty super excited. But the thing that makes me kind of interested in this quote is that he's like, oh, good, bad. He's trying to bring some type of order. I'm like, that's what usually bad guys in Star Wars say, is that they're bringing order or some type of organization to the chaos. And second of all, there's certain actors that play bad guys, and then there's certain actors that play good guys. This guy generally doesn't play good guys. He usually plays bad guys. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to get a guy that's really good at playing a bad guy, you're not going to have him be on the good side. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a good point.
Yes.
To me...
And I've met him. He's super nice.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Sweet brag.
You're supposed to block it like this. I'll just say that. You're supposed to put up 2 and block it. But no, to me, I actually didn't like the comment because I didn't like it's not so much his comment, but it's like the understanding of like, oh, he's kind of good from a certain point of view. I get that, but I really wish there were just bad people sometimes.
There are.
I know, but I'm saying like, I just really wish that they would, I don't know. I wish that the Mandalorian could be that morally ambiguous character. Like sometimes he may do the wrong thing, but like in a cool way or something.
Anti-hero, yeah.
But like, I really want him to, for whatever reason, be that character and then run in to just evil. Yeah. Like, I don't want it to be like, I don't know. I kind of see that guy's point of view. I'm like, no, I want this show to be cool because you have this like Deadpool kind of character who's just fighting what is unanimously voted bad.
Yeah.
Unanimously. Did I say unanimously? I'm like, that didn't sound right.
I glossed over
Potato,
it. That's
potato.
Okay. Yeah, we know what you meant.
I was like pausing too. I'm like, that didn't sound right. Yeah.
You nominate him for an award, right?
Yes.
Already, right out of the gate. Do I get a setup question, or you want me to just fire away here?
No, I mean, same thing with Lacey. Like, does this do anything for you?
Yeah, it does in a sense that it's an actor that is confirmed in a project, and he's talking about it, so that's pretty cool. You know what it does remind me of? A little bit of how Woody Harrelson was talking about Beckett, and Woody Harrelson's a little more loose-lipped, I guess, because he's just a kind of a casual guy, and he's always stoned all the time. He's
He just doesn't care. He's like one of those guys that's like, oh, NDA?
He's like, I teach him a few things, and I don't know. And they're like, shut up. He's like, oh, all right. But it reminded me like a Beckett thing. He's like, well, I may be good, I may be bad. I'm not really sure about my persona yet. And the question is, though, with them doing this volume thing, this like that new CGI room and all that stuff, it's possible he doesn't know the full extent of what his character is going to completely look like, what his character is going to be completely done via post-production. Maybe he had to wear the dots and they had to add something to him.
We saw him in the footage.
Yeah.
He was in the footage?
He had like a he was like doing like bad stuff in the footage we saw at Celebration.
Okay, then maybe he's just talking about environments then, because they can change the environments in like that volume chamber room thing. But it doesn't tell me too much, but it almost seems like he's being coy, and it's just one of those things like, am I? I don't know. But I do like the fact that, yes, he plays like dirtbags a lot of the time, but he looks like in Breaking Bad, like, oh, there's just this mild-mannered, nice guy who runs a chicken restaurant. And is he going to play that type of role in Mandalorian where he comes across as a nice guy, but he is like inherently evil? I don't know. But James, I'm with you. I don't like the mishmash, like I'm a gray character thing. Like Star Wars needs straight up villains.
I think he's playing into his character. I think he's saying, to his team of stormtroopers and his like people that follow him, they're still trying to bring order to this world, and they truly believe that.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
But to me, I think that anybody watching this show isn't. I hope that nobody watching the show is going to see that as like, I don't know, like an ambiguous thing, you know, like, oh, that he could be cool, like. I don't know. That just kind of bothers me. I think that most people watching the show will just be like, yeah, he's just clearly the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I still think Carl Weathers winds up being the bad guy in the show for some reason. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think that description...
You still think like a Beckett type thing? Like a betrayal?
Yes. Yeah, but early on.
Really? All right.
Lacey, where are you at?
No, I was just going to say that he just reminds me of Kingpin in Daredevil, where it's like at the beginning you feel for him and you're like, oh, this guy can't be the bad guy. And then he just snaps and loses it. And then you're like, oh, he's bad.
This dude?
He's killing a guy with a car door. Like, yeah, like this guy's not a good guy.
And that's what I want, man.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I just think that... you know, like we've kind of said a couple times, that he thinks what he's doing is right. And I think that oftentimes in the past in Star Wars, they keep saying that. Like Kylo Ren, like Adam Driver said that too.
I really am so tired of that.
I almost said that earlier. It's
kind of Krennic too.
Oh, it's just
like Krennic believes in what he's doing.
I know, but Krennic was so clearly the bad guy. There was nothing redeeming about him.
Absolutely.
I want a Sheev Palpatine where he's like, I know I am the most evil person in the history of this galaxy, and I'm gonna own that. I think Star Wars needs more of that. I want someone who is gonna have zero chance at a redemption arc. I want big evil in Star Wars, and I don't know if we're going to get it out of The Mandalorian, because it may just be one of those every man for himself, like a good, bad, and the ugly type of situation. But Star Wars needs more legit, straight up bad, evil villains.
Lacey, I actually think you nailed it. I think exactly what I want is Krennic, whereas Krennic follows the rules and he's doing his way to make it up the ladder. Take the rules away from him and he becomes the leader of a gang. You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden he's in this like outworld and he's like, I will be the top and I will do nothing to lose my power. You know, I almost kind of see him as like they're almost kind of bringing him in like as that Gus kind of character.
Yeah, I can't see him being
so dark,
being part good. Whereas Carl Weathers, I could see him starting off as a good guy that you think is a bad guy and then turns bad.
Oh, that guy's 100% good. I'm sold.
No way.
I think that Esposito is definitely a bad guy. He plays bad guys.
Here's how I look at it. That guy's going to be a bad guy, but he's going to be like an Enfys Nest bad guy, but not good. I think Carl Weathers, if you look at that stage, you had Favreau, Filoni, Pascal,
Gina Carano,
and Carl Weathers. She's going to be with the Mandalorian. You know that.
Love interest, yeah.
So they had to have had the bad guy on the stage, and it's going to be Carl Weathers. He's going to be like, I'll teach you how to live in this space, and we'll do that. And then he's going to stab in the back episode 2, and they're going to take off and become heated adversaries. That's what I think is going to happen.
It's like when I joined the podcast. You betrayed me, and then...
Oh, we could talk about that later. You're so weird, Lacey.
Sorry.
All right.
All right, you guys want to talk a little Zorri Bliss?
Ooh, another is she good or bad character?
I like her name, though. I have to say. It's a really cool name.
Apparently, according to the story, and there are a little bit of spoilers here, but it's all kind of hearsay. I wouldn't say any of this is concrete. This is like coming from people who sometimes get things right. But this story is coming in as that she is 100% a good guy. She's just kind of in the mix a little bit. And we have some things saying that she is, in fact, the character that's going to help the Resistance get off of Kijimi? Kijimi? I think that's how we're going with the pronunciation of that planet.
I thought it's Kijimi.
Kijimi.
Kijimi. But anyway, it's the snow planet, and that she might actually be the one that kind of helps the Resistance get out of a sticky situation and get them. But there's also some other things coming out there that's saying the ship that we're seeing, that in the episode 9 trailer is in fact hers, and then obviously we know that people have connected that to the ship and how it looks like it's the one that's leaving Rey. So then it kind of leads to some speculation of maybe this is how Zorri's connected to the story. She's the one who left Rey, and then basically just like fan speculation all over the place. Like, does that mean, you know, it's a family member or like a blood relative, or does that mean that she like saved her from her relatives? I mean, it's kind of going all over the place. John, I'm going to go ahead and start with you on this one. Does this add to your interest for Zorri Bliss? Do you think that these could potentially be on the right path?
I think it's possible. I don't understand why J.J. Abrams would introduce another character into this fully loaded series of character arcs that he knows he needs to tie up, especially with his track record with finishing things. He needs to finish things, and this is finishing the biggest Star Wars franchise, or the biggest movie franchise of all time. So that's
the biggest Star Wars franchise.
The biggest Star Wars franchise you've ever seen. That's a guarantee. But so that's got to be on his mind. So to introduce another new character with someone he's worked with in the past, it has to be someone he trusts, which means the role has to be somewhat significant, you would think. So I do think she is going to play some type of role here, and maybe this does allow him to explore that Rey's past without it being a retcon of what Rian Johnson wrote in episode 8. We remember J.J. Abrams said he wished he could have directed episode 8. He loved what Rian did. He inspired him to take more risk with 9. J.J. liked what Rian Johnson did. He's not retconning Rey's parentage. That's gone. So this person could have been someone who left her there. Why? Maybe we'll find out in this movie. So I'm all behind all that kind of stuff. Because again, to sum up my point, like Return of the Jedi, they didn't introduce a main new good guy character, and because they had to finish things up. They're not going to introduce a new main good character unless there's a significant reason for them to be a part of this here. So she's not going to be a Phasma, a good guy Phasma, who's just like a dust in the wind. She is going to have a significant role. So I'm buying that whole ship thing. I think when we saw the trailer and we had our immediate reaction, I think the three of us said something like that. So I'm on board with that type of thing. So yeah.
Lacey, why do you think that this is just a big retcon to Last Jedi? No, I'm just kidding.
That is a tough question, James, that I am not going to answer. But I am going to say that I'm really pumped that Keri Russell's in this movie. And I think that people often write parts and do things in movies to work with people they like to work with. And I think that this role is kind of made for Keri Russell, knowing that she could do like fighting roles like the Americans and stuff like that. So that being said, I think that she definitely left Rey on Jakku.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's it. That's a period. Bing. So do you think, I don't want to get too speculative here because maybe we can do that in a discussion later on, but are you thinking she's someone who has connections to the Solos or Han or Leia or even Luke? Is there anything like that? Or is it just a thing where she knew her parents and she's like, I'll save you from these drunkards? And like, is it a simple thing or is it a big connectivity thing?
I don't know that far. I don't know.
I like going down speculation.
Putting my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with Leia and Han. I think it's tough though, because you have to get into who Rey is and who her parents are. But I don't know. I just know that that ship matches the ship that Rey saw in her vision.
You know, like $50, and like Maz Kanata is going to be like, you got to go to Kijimi and find Zorri Bliss. And she'll tell you what you need to know. It's like, damn it, Maz, just tell me yourself. You're always sending me to find these people.
She's like, gotta go.
Yeah, it's always like, that's a story for another time. It's like, no, this is the last movie, Maz. You need to tell us everything you know. Like, this is it. Story for another time. This is the time.
The time is now.
You don't even have your restaurant anymore. You're not doing anything.
Her poor castle.
She's trade disputes.
Yeah, union dispute. Yeah.
Union disputes, yeah.
Yeah, she's trying to get a higher minimum wage for bartenders when she opens up her new restaurant.
For all this stuff with Zorri Bliss, like I get it makes sense, I guess. You know, you're bringing in an ambiguous character that is, I know that's like my theme tonight. But like, okay, so when Boba Fett was introduced, for instance, he tended to err on the side of like, he's one of the bad guys, right? So I think what they're trying to do here is they're like trying to introduce a bounty hunter style character that maybe for whatever reason is working for the good guys or tends to lean on the good side, just so that they can say all these like bounty hunters out there, they're morally ambiguous. They could go either way. And for whatever reason, this character is just going to be someone who leans on the side of the resistance of the good guys. And all that makes sense. You make it her ship. Then all of a sudden that answer of like, whoa, who's in the ship? Where's the ship going? All that stuff. It can be answered pretty easily. All this seems to make a lot of sense. The only thing that still kind of like, I want to know, and I know we all want to know, but like, there's this whole thing about how Rey already knew that her parents were in the Jakku desert. Like, and she knew that in her head. Kylo read that from her. She admitted it. They've had this discussion, and that was the clear the air. Her parents are nothing.
Yep.
So let's move on from it thing. But we're still getting stuff that, and this was like a recent like leak from a book or something where they're like, oh, this confirms that she wasn't born on Jakku and that she was dropped off there and stuff. And so then did her parents take her to Jakku and then both die? Some of this stuff just is kind of like not lining up, but then also I'm sure as soon as they tell you, you're like, oh yeah, that all makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's a good point, James.
They thought it out.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It totally doesn't make sense. Kylo says they died in a pauper's grave in the Jakku desert.
They're buried in a pauper's grave.
Yeah.
They're there. So, I mean, so then you kind of assume that she was raised on Jakku, but then you got this other thing that's saying that it kind of implies that she was dropped off there, which is also another thing that was thought like when we first saw it. Oh, it looks like somebody dropped her off and left her with.
Yeah, in the book it says she was dropped there and left with him.
Yeah. So then there's like some conflicting things, which I still tend to believe that what they're telling you in The Last Jedi with the whole like that her parents were nothing, all this stuff, that stuff is true. That's like a harsh truth. That's not you're going to find out later that was like a lie or it's going to be revealed that was.
I agree.
I do believe that that's the storytellers telling us that's the truth.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's that stuff's kind of confusing to me. But just on the subject of Zorri Bliss, is she on the side of the Resistance? Yeah, sure. Is that her ship? Yeah, sure. Is this all going to line up somehow, some way? Yeah, sure. So
the balancing act though is going to be tricky because JJ can make this very simple so that he can focus on the main characters and their arcs and all that thing. So, but if he makes it simple, people may be like, "That was it. That's lame." Like, oh, she was just someone who found these drunk people mistreating their daughter and took her and dropped her off somewhere else with Unkar Plot, who she knew from a previous deal. And people be like, that was it? All right. But maybe that's all JJ wants to do with it. I don't know. Like, no one will ever know what his original plan was because maybe he had bigger plans for her. But he's following the story as it is true, and I agree that it is true. So, maybe he'll go the simple route. Maybe it'll be complex. We'll find out in 4 months. But I like speculating on this because for once we're speculating on things that don't involve Kylo Ren and Rey, and it's a little refreshing.
Yeah, I often think when it comes to this speculation stuff is sometimes, now I know it's also, did they write the whole story to begin with? I don't know about all that stuff, but sometimes it does kind of feel like, I'm like, hey, there was a guy and he woke up and he was going to go to the store and I'll tell you the rest of the story in 1 year from now. And then the next year, people make up all these possibilities of where that guy, what happened to him and what he bought at the store and all this other stuff. And then when I come back, I go, yep, he bought an apple and he went home. That's the story. It's just because there was this gap of time, people had the opportunity to kind of like write their own stories or write what they think might happen, when ultimately it doesn't have to take some crazy path. Sometimes this is just the story. Like she was dropped off and then it was just told over 3 movies, and those 3 movies happen to come out in 6 Earth years, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be some crazy reveal. It just is the story, and we're being delivered it slowly so that it lets us hang for a little while and we have some fun with it. I mean, because at the end of the day, this is all entertainment, right?
We shall see.
We shall see. Lacey, listen close to this part because you're going to be talking about some ships.
Oh, great. My favorite.
Well, like real ships?
Yeah.
Oh.
Real, like boats.
Oh.
No. It is naval, though. So we got some, I wouldn't even say like leaks, but there are some board games called the Fantasy Flight game. Is that right? Fantasy Flight Games. Yeah, is the name of the company. And they make ships, and they did a press release, all whole thing with these new ships. And one of them is a Star Destroyer type ship, and another one is a Resistance style ship. To get it out of the way quickly, the Resistance style ship is a ship that we've seen from other books and things, and this is kind of like the first time we're seeing it like physically in person. I do actually remember when the Aftermath series was, the thing to pay attention to. Everybody was really hoping that they would get to see these because they play a pretty significant role. And it is nice now to see them in person. Hopefully they do have something to do with episode 9. But the bigger one, in my opinion, is the Star Destroyer kind of thing, because it has a specific look that was described in a leak or a rumor about the First Order being able to use Death Star technology within their Star Destroyer ships. And now we're kind of seeing the ship. And so it kind of leads into more questions about the potential of what the First Order is going to be using as an actual threat. Like, doesn't any big evil organization have to have some sort of mega weapon? At least, it's their right hand. So I don't know. Lacey, do either one of these ships look interesting? Do you actually think that particular ship will show up in episode 9?
So I have a question. I thought these ships weren't necessarily First Order ships. I thought they were the ships people were rumored that the Sith Troopers were on. Is that not right?
Yeah, I think that's what they're alluding to. That these are like...
Okay.
That's part of one of the rumors. It hasn't been revealed what the ships are. They've just said like their name.
They could be tied to Palpatine.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, these ships have a big Death Star in the middle of them. That's what this ship is, I guess. So I don't know. I'm not a big ship person. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big vehicle person, except Millennium Falcon. So to me, it's like, okay, ships, cool. That's what they fly on. Mm-hmm. But I think the more interesting thing to me is the rumor that they could have Sith Troopers on them, because supposedly they're like out in the unknown regions, our favorite location, just like
not
waiting.
Entirely stable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Total like wild space out there with these things, which I wonder how many planets they've destroyed. But if these ships have the ability to destroy planets, like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because the Death Star had to move into position for like 10 minutes in the movie.
Right.
And then you have Starkiller Base took 15 minutes to charge. So
right.
I can only imagine that if these things are on the move, like how much damage they could cause.
Starkiller 2 didn't ever have to move. It could blow up anything in the galaxy from its current position.
Death Star 2?
No,
Starkiller 2.
Starkiller 2? What are you guys talking about?
I don't know where the 2 came from. I said...
Oh, I thought you said 2.
He did. James, what do you know?
Oh, did you mean like 2 like also? Like as a...
Yeah. Starkiller 2.
I heard 2 and I was like, 2?
Oh, yeah. I was like, what do you know? Let's hear it. Did JJ actually do this? It's bigger. It's even bigger.
JJ called.
Starkiller 1 didn't have to move. It could fire. It could blow up anything in the galaxy.
It was in orbit. It was a planet.
Yeah, it just was sitting there. It didn't move.
Right, but I'm saying it took 15 minutes to charge and all this stuff.
Yeah, I know, but I'm adding to that as well as like it was just in one location, so it was the question of like, is it in range? You know, which was like the first Death Star. The planet will be in range, and you know, it's like, dude, blow the thing up. Like that's the ability of Starkiller.
When I think of these things, it's almost like JJ's like, well, I know I can't do a bigger Star Killer. People are gonna make fun of me. I can't do that. So he's like, what can I do? He's like, oh, we'll put tennis balls in the middle of Star Destroyers. And they'll be just as powerful as Death Stars because technology gets better over time. And when the TV first came out, or the air conditioner first came out, or the cell phone first came out, there were these giant, hunky, clunky things. And now we're able to whittle it down to these little things that have the same amount of pack a punch. So that's probably what we have going on here. I don't love the idea, like we talked about this last week, that it's, well, Palpatine actually had a third plan just in case the Death Star 2 didn't work out. It's been since Return of the Jedi all along. It's like, well, I can try to suspend my disbelief of that, but I know that's not true. So I have a little problem with that. But at least, like I say, they didn't do another Death Star, so I guess that's cool. And they needed something. I think in my pitch for episode 9, I had said that they implanted planets with self-destructive devices or something, and that's not as probably cool as what these are going to be. And they're going to be able to sell these as, you know, toys and that sort of thing too. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's fine. I don't care. Like Lacey, I'm not a big, weapons and type of. I like the characters and the stories and those arcs. I think that's what makes Star Wars work and makes Star Wars not science fiction. So when you get into we got the laser, phaser, blaster, cannon, Lannon, Dannon, I'm like, all right, let me get those two characters and see what's going on with them. So, I mean, I'm cool with it, but whatever. Just give me Sheevy babes, please.
I'm trying to remember what my thing for the episode 9 pitch was, which I think it was. Vader. Well, no, that was that, but it was that there were a bunch of ships all over the galaxy, and they could temporarily like shift or like transfer all their energy to one ship or something.
Yeah.
And it would like blow up that planet, but then it could like spread back out and then go over to this one.
And you know what? JJ and Chris Terrio had this conversation. They're like, all right, so what do we do? Do we do it where...
That's the best part, is knowing that practically everything that's ever been talked about was legitimately talked about. And it's like, what if we... And then they said yes or no, and that was it.
If the three of us were in like Lacey's house right now, and she has her like toys, her little Death Star back there, and like I grab like a Star Destroyer, and you see like one of her cat's tennis balls on the ground, you're like, dude, what if I put that right in the middle of that Star Destroyer? And they're eating like pizza, and JJ's like, hey, that's a pretty good idea.
To be fair, too, that's not the ship. That's old Force Awakens artwork.
I know, but they always use that stuff. They always bring that stuff back. Look at the underwater concept art that they're probably bringing back with the Death Star. Yeah.
And then the Jakku Desert rising Death Star out of the sand. Like, you think we're going to get something like that out of the water?
Man,
that scene seems very Watchmen to me.
It did.
It definitely does. Dr. Manhattan. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like seeing it rise out of the thing, and then she like wakes up and they're like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi.
Casual.
Palpatine was able to like use the Force to take Luke's handcuffs off, and now he can just lift the Death Star and put it back together. The Force, it's like
if they ever did go that route, like, and JJ has said cuffs are off, right? No pun intended. I think that doing a dream sequence where really crazy stuff happens would be a really cool way to have visuals and feel like that Force Unleashed thing, but then no consequences.
What if Rey and Kylo work together to lift it out of the water?
Yeah.
Like one person can't do it, but what if two people do it?
I don't want it being lifted out of the water.
Like
How about
Finn
that?
And Rey.
Sure.
Because we're just talking what ifs crazies, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right now.
What if?
Like non-possibilities. Just
as long as somebody doesn't, lift it and drop it on Chewie, I don't care what they do with it.
I do think if they do the redemption thing and Kylo is there and they do some sort of like the two of them Rey's, it would be very Kanan and Ezra to me. So I would be cool with it.
It would. It totally would.
They're definitely doing the redemption thing. Like, let's not like be, oh, maybe they're gonna. Like, I
need to go back to listen to our episodes to all the times John said no.
Yeah, but you have to be fair. Palpatine was not in the equation at that time. So my argument was valid. I'm pretty sure
at one point I said, but what if we get a bad guy? Like a big bad guy.
And I said, if they introduce a new big bad guy, that'd be stupid. And they're not. They're bringing back the greatest bad guy of all time.
I need to go back and find it. I'm going to do it.
Everything is consistent with what I say because I'm very careful about how I approach these things. For that reason, specifically. But now that Palpatine's back, I think JJ is a coward and he's going to redeem Kylo Ren.
Oh my God.
And sorry, buddy. And we're all going to be satisfied, in a word.
In a word. Hey, we're running low on time, but one of the other things I wanted to talk about is the Hasbro Triple Force Friday merchandise starting to come here to the United States.
Yes.
Yeah, I
love toys.
I almost have nothing to say about this. John, if you have something, I know Lacey is probably
I'll let Lacey go first on this one because she likes
toys,
and I definitely have something I need to say about it for sure.
Wait, something about me liking toys or something about toys in general?
No, I'm saying since you are probably the biggest merch person out of the three of us, why don't you fire away your thoughts on this right now? First.
Well, I mean, this article / post online was done by Yakface, who's a great Twitter account that gives you all updates on all toys. They said that they had gotten news from someone that stuff had already started shipping from China and Vietnam to America, which totally makes sense. This stuff takes time. They put them on big ships. They ship them over. It makes sense that things are going out. I'm not surprised at all. They get this stuff way earlier than when it goes out. That's why you see leaks and people put stuff out early. The only thing that shipped really were the lightsabers, like the play sabers. So I guess the only question is there a play saber that's not a character we know of? Like, but I don't think they'd give that away on Triple Force Friday. I think you're going to get stuff that you would know on Triple Force Friday since it is October, end of September, October.
There is a Black Series leak too.
There is? What was it?
Yeah. Mandalorian and some like 2 characters from Mandalorian, 2 characters from Fallen Order, Rey and Kylo Ren from The Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker, and one other property, but it was like 2 characters from that thing. I can't remember what it was.
All right.
And Rey comes with Dio packaged inside. I can look it up, but yeah, it's.
I didn't see that part.
Doesn't give anything away.
I only saw the play saber part, but I would imagine that all the toys that they're going to have that are going on Triple Force Friday are going to be things that don't give anything away. And if it does, you're not going to realize it until after the movie's out.
Yeah, so like the last big merch day I remember with Star Wars was when The Phantom Menace came out, and merch was insane. Like you even had like famous people like Leo DiCaprio in lines at Toys R Us to pick up the new Star Wars figures. And that was fine because it was a prequel and we kind of knew what the end game of the story was. So you know you're going to get a little kid Anakin and you know all that Sidious is the Emperor. So, that's okay. With this stuff where you're going forward, you have to be very careful. And this is where J.J. Abrams comes in. Because now that he's back, he has a lot of say over like what they do with this stuff. He doesn't care if they need to sell merch. Like he wants to protect the integrity of the content of this final movie. So he may like put his foot down and say like, you cannot release this or you cannot make this until after this certain time or whatever. And that's definitely true. And if you go back to TFA, we kind of all assumed, at least I did, like that girl's not just carrying around a staff. She's going to end up being the Jedi.
But they didn't have a lot of toys of her.
And they did not show her with a lightsaber at all. And they skipped that whole holiday season when they could have sold billions of Rey with a lightsaber, and they didn't do it. And
people freaked out that she wasn't in anything.
And they didn't do it, and they did that on purpose to save the integrity of that moment in the movie where she finally does it. Yeah. that's going to happen again. So we will see lightsabers, but it's going to be the Skywalker lightsaber with the new Band-Aid thing on it, and it's going to be Kylo Ren's lightsaber, and that's going to be it. And then you're going to see stuff that we see in promos. You're going to see Finn's new his blaster that he got from Han, and all that stuff. And you'll get your clawed puppets and
the bow,
the Jana bow. You'll get your Han-Hans. Gotta love the Han-Hans. I'll say it again. Han-Hans. You'll get your Han toys. And so that type of stuff. So I think JJ really has a lot of influence over this stuff. So I think less than maybe The Last Jedi and less than the other movies, there's going to be a lot of protection here. But I'd watch out for the Lego sets. Those ones usually, like I said last week, when you get the box and you're like, these people are on Pasana, and you could like pin them there in the movie. Right. I think that might be a game changer.
Yeah, do you guys want the list of that? It was Cal and the second sister from Jedi Fallen Order.
Makes sense.
The Mandalorian and IG-11 from The Mandalorian. And then it was 4 from Rise of Skywalker with Rey and Dio in one pack and Kylo Ren. And then also the other 2 are, this is very boring, but First Order Trooper and Sith Troopers.
Who was Kylo Ren? Kylo Ren was with Dio and Rey?
No, by himself.
No, Rey is with Dio. And then Kylo Ren is a character.
They would never put
the only benefit is that Dio comes with Rey.
Is Kylo Ren masked in his figure? Or does he have it's the show? Or
it's a list of names. It's not.
All right. Well, that's if you want to avoid leaks, just be careful what you look at on Reddit and that sort of thing, because people will be posting screenshots of merch. But
so I wonder if Rey built Dio.
Oh, I don't know.
Because in the Force Awakens toys, Rey came with BB-8 in all the packs. And then now, because BB-8's probably back with Poe for this last movie, and he's with her too, but mostly probably with Poe, I wonder if in this time jump, she builds her own droid. Because we know she's good at machines and
maybe
engineering and stuff like that. We learned that from the first movie, that she's good with technical stuff.
Plus, he seems like not a droid that comes from like an industrial planet. He just seems like a throw-it-together droid.
Right, that she could have just found pieces around a base or something.
Yeah, or it's been a year and someone else
book it. Rey built Dio.
Like I disagree with that. Book it. I cancel that. Book it.
Okay, I'm keeping it. Book it.
All right.
I subscribe to Pizza Hut's Book It promotion. All right, John, we're running low on time, so how fast can you get through the Scoundrels rundown?
This fast. Punch it.
Punch it.
Okay, guys, The Secrets of the Jedi by Marc Sumerak is coming in November. It's going to be a book that is told through the eyes of Luke Skywalker about the history of the Jedi from the Old Republic all the way through to Rey. And it's going to be through his eyes and how he sees things in his certain point of view. But if he's going back thousands of years, it's pretty clear that he did read those sacred Jedi texts. So he did care about them. Good for you, Luke. Good for you. But that will be out in November. And check it out by Marc Sumerak. That'll be out exactly 1 month before The Rise of Skywalker on preview nights. Next, Star Wars Myths and Fables by George Mann. It's in-universe storytelling, so picture people in Star Wars telling stories about Star Wars, kind of like the Adventures of Luke Skywalker book. Little strange, little weird. One story, though, not to be too spoilery, is going to involve Obi-Wan Kenobi taking down a creature that he may have done an impression of one time. So you can piece those together. The next Star Wars book discussions is a new video going on our channel by Kyle Larson and some other dude. So go check those out. They're reviews, video reviews of our books. I'm just kidding. It's James and Kyle Larson, and they get together. They talk about books, and James looks exactly like he looks right now, except there's Kyle Larson next to him. So there you go, guys. And that is it for the Scoundrels Rundown. I hope it was quick enough for you, but now we're going to send it to Lacey to see what you guys had to ask us and ask the Resistance. So, Chewie, get us out of here!
All right, guys, it's time for Ask the Resistance.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
You've got Star Wars questions. Hopefully we have some pretty good Star Wars answers. The first question come from Michael Boussard Jr. at Rebel Awakening. And he asks, I came across the image on Pinterest yesterday, this image, and it got me wondering, will we see the destruction of the Millennium Falcon at the hands of Kylo Ren in The Rise of Skywalker? Hashtag blow that piece of junk out of the sky. Can I tell you that's one of my favorite lines in The Last Jedi? And I laugh so hard every time I see it.
He's very angry.
So the art, just so you guys know, the art it's like Kylo Ren. He's kind of on, I don't know what kind of planet that is. It's like a rocky planet. And the Millennium Falcon's flying towards him and he's got his hands up like he's using the Force and it's being literally ripped in half. I saw this because like 16 people.
The Death Star behind him?
I don't know.
Nope, I don't know.
But first of all, it's really well done. Very beautiful piece.
And it's unofficial, right? This is a fan art?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Right. It's fan art. I feel bad that I don't know who did it because I had, no joke, like 20 people tagged me in this photo. And
Lacey.
so I should know who did it. What?
It was me.
No, it wasn't.
No.
So will we see him destroy the Millennium Falcon? No, never. That thing's not going anywhere. Guys, they just parked that thing in Galaxy's Edge. They're not going to destroy it. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
In the world of Star Wars, that you're going to destroy a ship and then magically go into a Disney park and there it is. Surprise. So if anything, that thing will fly off and you'll never see it in the movies again, which again will never happen, but it will never get destroyed because it is like the big piece of Galaxy's Edge. All right. Next is Blog of the Hut at Blog of the Hut, and he asks, Rey's awakening in the Force occurred as she left Jakku. Is it possible that her staying on Jakku was holding her back from her Force potential? Not necessarily anything on the planet, but maybe her attachment making a mental block that disappeared when she left. James, what do you think?
You know, I've never thought about this. This is a good take, Blogga. I think that's really interesting. The only thing about this that I think makes it possible is the fact that, because if it was just a planet or just a desert planet, then I'd say no. But there is a lot of stuff. There's tie-ins to Jakku as far as like the contingency plans, observatory and Sith relics potentially being there as well. And so there is a possibility to me that maybe there's something deep in the plan that is like when there's an observatory, there's like not really Force abilities being able to be used on this planet. I don't think that's going to be like a major plot point for Rey. I think that like years down the line in like a comic or something, when someone's like, God, I don't even know what to write about, but I got to write a story about Rey. They might come up with something that says, you know, hey, this was, you know, part of the reason maybe that she was even dropped off on Jakku in the first place is because they knew that this person had potential and they put her there. And like, that's never the plan with JJ, but like, sure, it works. Like you could write that story. That technically works. It just makes JJ's story better when that was never really his intention, but like somebody's, you know, standing on the shoulder of giants, like making it better just by adding a little more detail to it later down the line. But that is a good point. So then as soon as she gets off of the planet and she gets away from like the Sith relics that are buried deep in the sand, yeah, then maybe all of a sudden something happens. So here's hoping. I kind of like that idea. I think that could be cool.
Nice.
Nice.
Next is Darth Del Rio at Darth Rio. And he asks, or she, sorry, he or she, asks, they, what do you think of Lucasfilm making non-Star Wars or Indiana Jones films? John.
I think it's great. I think it's for a lot of reasons. One, obviously, I'm a big fan of American Graffiti. Even J.W. Rinsler, who was on our podcast, it's probably one of my favorite guests we've had, said that was in his eyes, part one of a trilogy, with Star Wars being part two in terms of movie making and that sort of thing. So I think Lucas himself got lost in Star Wars, where I think he wanted to do other things, but Star Wars kind of just became this huge thing, and then Indiana Jones happened. But I think his intention was always there to make different films. But now that George is gone, what's good about them making other movies, like the one they just recently took over, Children of Blood and Bone, which they're going to have Rick Famuyiwa, the guy who is directing some of the Mandalorian episodes, and potentially Cassian Andor is directing this. So they obviously trust this guy. I think that's going to be telling, because you can rest on Star Wars and Indiana Jones as a crutch with nostalgia and say, look, we can still make these great movies. But if you make a new product, and that'll be a good measure for fans to see how good Lucasfilm is at creating movies without that crutch. So it'll be a good test to see what they're really capable of over there, from, you know, production down to creativity. So I think that's a really good thing. So when this movie comes out, if it's a stinker, maybe some questions on what's going on over there. So, but if it's a really good movie, then you could say, all right, they got the right team over there and they know what's going on. So I think it's great. And from beginning to American Graffiti to now, for all those reasons, I think it's A1 fantastic. So 100% behind it. Love it. And I hope they churn out plenty of other good products besides Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Great answer, John.
No, thank you.
Excellent job. Next is Talzin at Alderon Nicola. Hello. She asks, do you think that there will be any females, human or alien, amongst the Knights of Ren? And John made sure to write bing, bang, boom, answer very quickly.
Get it done.
Yes.
Yes, for me too.
Patron Commander Nicola, I say yes as well.
Nice. Well done. And last but not least is Rob Bartlett at RB7RA. Oh, it's just RADS. RADS. He asks, my 5-year-old daughter asked me in the car today, what's the funniest thing in Star Wars? The Force is telling me that your daughter's name is Thea. Hi, Thea. How are you? I know. I'm like really good at the Force, I guess.
We did a Kessel run on the funniest moments. If you want to go back and check it out, Rob.
Funny story, not to interrupt the question, I sent that video to him because he DM'd us this question.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Well, Rob, I'm going to answer your question right now. And my answer is when R2-D2's on the barge in Return of the Jedi and he's serving drinks. I stand by that.
I think my out of the 4 that I did, the one that got the most response is the "Are you kidding me? I am blind."
Funniest moment. I don't know if I have. That's hard for me to say the funniest moment. I would say maybe.
Which was Rogue One, by the way. I don't. Yeah. If someone's sitting there going like, "How do I know that line?" But like, I can't place what he's talking about. It's in Rogue One. It's Cheer It that says it.
I'll pick 2. I'll pick Yoda screwing with Luke when he goes, "Take you to him, I will," and he does that crazy laugh because he's testing his patience. Mm-hmm. Or Luke saying, "Hey, Sacred Island, watch your language," to R2-D2.
That's a good one.
But
yeah,
I loved when Rey chopped the stone in half and it rolled down the hill and broke the cart for the fish nuns, and they just do this like,
yeah. and Han saying, "Oh, really? You're cold," to Chewie. Like a lot of Han and Chewie stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. That R2 one gets me every time. Where C-3PO's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Serving drinks," and he's like,
really
"I can see you're serving drinks."
That is really good. Thea, thank you so much for being one of our youngest parts of the Resistance, and Rob, thanks for messaging us, man.
Nice. I keep saying that. Nice.
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 So, if you guys want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN and send us all your Star Wars questions with hashtag AskTheResistance. Back to you, John.
Hey guys, if you want to find out every way you can be a part of the Resistance broadcast experience, I want you to do this after the episode. As long as you're not driving. Don't do that. Go to resistancebroadcast.com. Hit enter, and then you'll find out everywhere that you can subscribe and listen to us. You can find out where to get our merch. You can find out how to become a patron. And you'll be right on our website, StarWarsNewsNet.com, which you should be going to every day anyway, especially as things are heating up for your latest news, reviews, editorials, information, and all that stuff. So resistancebroadcast.com. resistance.com. Check it out. You can subscribe to us everywhere. Even if you want to subscribe to us to every platform and be the ultimate TRB fan, do it. And leave us that 5-star review. Send us the screenshots at RBATSWNN with hashtag Rate the Resistance and get yourself entered to win a t-shirt like I talked about earlier. I do want to say for our patrons, a special thank you to our Patreon generals, and we're looking at Carmelo, Brian Shalito, Andrew Staley, Len Brown, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, and Val Trichkoff. Generals, we salute you. If you do want to become a part of the Resistance Broadcast Patreon page, go to patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. Tiers start at $2 a month, and we take pride in being a very active Patreon page in terms of content because we want to make it worth your guys' while. So thank you all for your support and your continued support, and most importantly, share our episodes with people you know, because apparently we put out a thing asking people, how do you find out about the Resistance Broadcast? A lot of people said word of mouth, and they heard it from a friend or someone else who likes Star Wars podcasts. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know about us. So just send a video or one of the clips or one of your links that you have of us to a friend, and let's keep growing the Resistance. Thank you guys so much. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and editing and writing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James, how about you, man?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Meyer Trunks, as well as on Star Wars Newsnet book discussions. Thanks for mentioning that earlier. What you didn't actually mention real quick is that A Crash of Fate also came out this week, same day as the Fables book. And if all things go well, there actually should be a new episode of book discussions coming out tomorrow with me and Kyle talking about A Crash of Fate. So check that out.
Nice. Lacey.
You can find me on Twitter at Lacey Gillerin and on Instagram.
Nice.
And on our Patreon.
Sure.
Killing it. With their outposts.
Killing it. Guys, I want to thank you so much for listening, watching, and Thursday we're bringing back the Kessel Run, where we're going to run down the 12 most heroic moments in Star Wars movie history. So enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you guys on Thursday morning with another episode right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.